Let's talk about wellness. Now, I'm going to spare you the lecture on how you need to optimize your performance, and you do that through nutrition. You're using a lot of brain power, you're awake a lot, you're under a lot of pressure, you're under attack all the time, right? So, the last thing you need is to be run down and physically unwell in the face of all of that day in and day out, because there's never a reprieve, right? So you have to be on every minute of every single day, and it's exhausting. And your brain, especially, is put through the ringer. Your emotions are put through the ringer. So obviously, you want to get as healthy as you can just to withstand the pressures that you're going to put yourself through. And nutrition is 80% of the battle, right? And your immune system, 60% of it is in your gut. So again, nutrition, incredibly important. So I'm going to spare you the lengthy discussion on that because that is common sense and you should know it by now. And if not, consider this your friendly reminder. But this is the one thing that people don't consider when it comes to politics, and that is your physical fitness level. But not only for all the reasons I just mentioned, although physical fitness will help with all of that too, but to get you ready for election season. Because not only is it long days and you're attending a lot of things or whatever, but you have to knock on so many doors. And that is a lot of walking. So on average, the average candidate will walk between 9 to 15 kilometers every single day. And there's nothing statistically that beats door knocking for IDing votes. And remember, I told you that IDing votes is the most important part of your campaign. So I guarantee you, any candidate that wants any chance, you can't replace doing other stuff for door knocking when it comes to IDing votes. So there's a lot of times you'll say, well, we're going to hang out in the lobby of a church, or we're going to hang out in the front entrance of a supermarket, right? Or we're going to, go to apartment buildings. So there's not a lot of walking in between houses there. All these people are on the same floor, and you pack a lot of punch in a small day. And apartment buildings, by the way, you save for rainy days. So you door knock apartments during rainy days. But on regular days, you're door knocking neighborhoods. Because I guarantee you, your team will ID more votes knocking on doors than hanging out in churches and grocery stores, although you will do well in that regard there. So I certainly encourage you to do those things. But those are activities you do when your body really can't handle it and you need to stay in one place. So that's when what you'll do is you'll door knock 4 or 5 days, and then you'll have one day at a church or one day at a grocery store to give your body a break. But I mean, are you right now, like if I were to say to you, starting tomorrow, I need you to walk 15 kilometers every single day, you would probably tell me where to go, even if you are fit. Because there's a difference between running on a treadmill for 20 minutes and walking 15 kilometers day in and day out. Maybe you'll even do it for a day or two, but I've seen people physically break down because they just can't handle it. We had one guy whose sciatica gave out on him. And when sciatica gives out on you, like, you're screwed, which means he lost so much momentum at the doors because he just physically just could not handle it. And then you're going to say, well, what about someone that's, has a disability? Like, that's not fair. Well, guess what? Politics isn't fair. So get a segue, like whatever, find a way, but you have to knock on so many doors. And even if you have someone driving you, getting in and out of the car, you're doing it 80, 100 times, sometimes 200 times. Like, that's a lot on your body, even just getting in and out of a car 200 times in a day. Right? So in neighborhoods, for example, where the houses are spread out, or rural neighborhoods, you're going to need to do the car thing. But regular neighborhoods, it's just not efficient to do a car. So unless you're going to be the candidate with a Segway, you're on your feet. And that's grueling, let me tell you. And the thing is, if you think about it, most elections are early autumn, which means you're campaigning in the summer. I've seen people campaign through heat waves where they're getting heat stroke and barfing in the bushes, and they're still knocking on doors. So it's brutal to the point of being dangerous. And that's how much you have to door knock. And if you say, well, physically I can't, Well, then you better get enough volunteers that can do it for you. But remember, the campaign team, even if you have a really good volunteer that's well versed on the stuff, people want to see the candidate, not the volunteer. So at least if the volunteer can point at you down the end of the block, you know what I mean? They can see that you were part of it. But if all they ever see are staffers, that's not so cool either. So you are expected as a candidate to knock on many doors. And let me tell you how important it is. When we're having internal discussions over who do we want to recommend as a candidate, the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth isn't, well, this guy has name recognition, or this guy doesn't, or this guy has a big social media. No. The first thing they said is, does he work hard? And work hard in political terms means door knocking. Working hard isn't, does he stay up all night? No, work hard is in reference to door knocking. Because for us, door knocking is the most important part of the campaign. Everything else that we do, debate prep and I don't know, special appearances and media interviews, all that comes second to door knocking. And even on the days we are doing those things, it's in between door knocking. We have candidates, the priority is them knocking on doors. That is the number one priority. So they are doing that the majority of the day. You've got a carb load. I saw one candidate was losing so much weight so fast. They had to start carb loading because they were just, and one, I've seen them too, like, the first couple of weeks you're into it and you're okay. But by the time election came, their body was wearing down. One candidate I know after the election, and he didn't win, almost thank God, because he was so physically exhausted. It took him a month to physically recover, not emotionally. He was fine that he won. This guy's playing a long game, so it was okay that he didn't win. But physically, it took him a month for his body to recover from door knocking, and that's exactly what it takes. Like, you have to do it. There's no ins, ands, or buts. So the smart politicians I know, as soon as there's rumors of proroguing parliament or something, they're on the treadmill training so that they are able to walk 15 kilometers a day. Because you don't want to wait till writ period to get into that shape, because you will be exhausted, right? And this is when, the first few days of working out, you don't feel good, and physically you can't do as many, so you're only doing half the houses you're supposed to because you're working up to the fitness level to do what you're supposed to do. So you want to get fit before election time. So by the time the writ is dropped, you walking 15 kilometers is just how you relax after a tough day on the job. You know what I mean? So you need to get incredibly physically fit, because your entire job is going to be door knocking. So therefore you have to have the fitness level to be able to do that. So that's what you need to know for today. That's a quick one. We're going to follow it real soon with another quick one that's also equally important.